Once upon a time, there were these two kids. They were probably about 4th, 5th grade, something like that. One kid, we'll call him Joe, who was kind of an average kid. You know, he had some friends, he had a social circle he belonged with. He wasn't the most popular kid and he wasn't the most least. And then there's this other kid, and we'll call him Danny. Now, Danny was the outcast. Danny had those big, thick-rimmed glasses, you know, all pimply and freckly, and he walked down like this and had zero friends. Zero friends. Danny was always picked on. Everybody bullied Danny. Everybody called him names like Four Eyes and Loser and Wimp and Spaz and, you know, whatever other names kids call people. Well, one day, Danny's walking home. And Joe and Danny lived near each other, but Joe never talked to Danny. And one day Danny's walking home and he's carrying all of his books. So he's got this huge stack of books like this. And keep in mind, Danny's a little kid. So when he's carrying this stack of books, he's kind of leaning like this because there's so many, he can't hold them all. And so some kids see him and they think it's funny. And they run up to him and push Danny. They trip him. Danny's books go flying everywhere. His glasses fall off. His pencils, his pens, his backpack, he loses everything. And the kids point and laugh, ha 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 ha. And they run off. And Danny's kind of palpating the ground around. He's trying to find his glasses. He's looking for them. And Joe sees this and comes up to Danny and reaches over, grabs his glasses and hands them to Danny. And Danny kind of braces because he thinks that somebody's going to beat him up. And Joe says to Danny, hey, don't worry about it. It's okay. You know, forget those guys. They're jerks anyways. Here, let me help you. And so he helps Danny pick the books up. And Danny asks him, he says, why are you helping me? And Joe says, well, what those guys are doing, it's not cool. And you don't seem like such a bad guy. Here, why don't I walk home with you? And Danny says, really? Still thinking that there's going to be some joke and he's going to get pushed or shoved again. Joe says, yeah, come on. And so Joe takes half the books and Danny slings his bag over and he kind of lets a little smile out. And Joe asks Danny, he said, why do you have all these books anyways? He goes, oh, you know, a bunch of homework. And so the next day, here comes Danny out of his house and he sees Joe and Joe waves to him and runs over and he says, hey, you need a hand with that? Danny says, yeah, sure. And Joe says, do you bring all your books home every time? And Danny said, no, it was, you know, just some project. And so they walk back to school and Danny discovers that Joe's a good guy and Joe discovers that Danny's a good guy, and over the next several years they develop a wonderful friendship. As Danny grows up, he gets contacts. He grows into his body. He becomes a really muscular, good-looking guy. He becomes a star basketball player, the star football player. He's got the varsity ladder. Not only that, he's excellent in school and he becomes a class valedictorian. Graduation day rolls around and Danny stands up to give a speech. And you have Joe in the audience and he's sitting there and Danny's parents are in the back. And Danny stands up and he starts talking about the rite of passage and going on to college and what a wonderful experience high school was. And then he stops and says, and it almost didn't happen. He said, you see, when I was a little kid, I was picked on all the time. I was bullied to such an extreme. I was made fun of. I was called names that I had made plans to end everything. I had cleaned my locker out and was carrying all my books home so my mom wouldn't have to show up and come to school to clean it out. I didn't want to have to shame her. I didn't want to hurt her anymore. And he said something changed though. He said one act of kindness from one person changed everything. He said my best friend, when the day I met him, he helped me. He helped me pick myself up off the ground at my lowest point. He helped me carry my books at my lowest point. And he helped me restore faith in humanity at my lowest point. He said, never underestimate the act of kindness. Never underestimate what one random act of kindness from one person can do, because kindness counts. And as this is going on, Joe never realized what impact he had on Danny's life. Danny never told him that. And he looks back and he sees Danny's parents and they're sitting there and they're just beaming with pride and there's tears streaming down his face. Joe looks around the audience, he sees not a dry eye in the audience. And he looks up at Danny. Danny looks at him, kind of gives him a smile and a wave. And he sees him mouth the words, thank you. You guys never underestimate what one act of kindness can do, whether it's to a stranger, a friend, a family member, whatnot. Just a simple action of caring for somebody, it can not only change their life, it could save their life. I'll talk to you all soon.